Good morning. My name's Jamie Lynn Bloom, and I'm a military spouse. I have just left the Washington State Capitol building where I was there to give supportive testimony for Senate Bill 6626. This is a bill that was sponsored by Senator Conway to develop a military spouse liaison within the Department of Veterans Affairs. Unfortunately, the docket was long, and myself and the other spouses who were there were unable to have our voices heard today. We didn't get to read our testimonies. We were silenced. Fortunately, the bill was passed on to the next part in its path. It goes to the Ways and Means Committee. However, the chairman of the committee, Senator Sam Hunt, I don't know that he realized that he made some disparaging comments about military spouses. So I want my voice to be heard. I'm going to read my testimony that addresses what Senator Sam Hunt had to say about military spouses in general who are seeking employment in the state of Washington. So please stay tuned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Sam Brown, committee staff. Before you is Senate Bill 6626. This bill creates the position of the military spouse liaison in the Washington Department of Veterans Affairs with the following duties regarding Washington military spouses: outreach to and advocacy on their behalf, assistance with professional licensing and credentialing, coordinating research and the creation of informational materials, examining barriers and, in coordination with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, improving access to child care, and developing a common form with the Employment Security Department to highlight spouses' experience, education, and training to assist in job placement. The liaison is encouraged to periodically report to legislative committees. A fiscal note is requested but is not yet available. There is no true House companion, but House Bill 2200, sponsored by Representative Clifford, creates the same position with a narrower set of duties. I believe that bill has been exec from the House committee. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
For the record, State Senator Steve Conway, 29th Legislative District. And today, really bringing to an issue that came before the Select Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs, this whole issue of military spouses. You know, I think we've done a great job in this state. We're considered a pro-military state by many of the bills we passed here, helping our active military and our retirees. And so we have a very positive persona as a pro-military state. But one issue that we've been starting to work on that we overlooked in all the good work we've done the past decade is a military spouse. The governor began this year with some information on military, with asking the DVA, and they are here today to talk about this issue, to focus on the problems of military spouses. But the Select Committee started work on this. And I want to read, there was riveting testimony from a military spouse who came before the Select Committee last summer about the problems that she was having. And she left her testimony for us. I have a copy of that testimony for you. But just here are some of the statements. Military spouse employment is a multifaceted issue. There is no one problem and no one solution. This is a group of people who are consistently overqualified and underpaid. This is a lost resource for any community. With Joint Base Lewis McChord being home to nearly 300,000 people, in addition to the thousands surrounding the base, this is a resource being overlooked on a large magnitude by your community. She goes on to talk about the problems of military spouses and moving, as we know, problems in higher education, the kind of abuse that goes on in the enrollment of military spouses in higher ed programs. The next challenge, she said, that goes often hand in hand with the struggle of education and employment is lack of affordable, quality child care. This is one issue that is faced by modern American family at a great proportion that any other generation has seen. There is something even more acutely affecting our military community. We have bases that are often overcrowded schools, and its surrounding areas are spillovers where the private market takes full advantage of a scarcity with extremely high cost of both living and child care. She goes on in her letter. I mean, this is riveting testimony from a military spouse in our committee, and I've got copies for all of you to look at, because she goes on to, in the end, she says, She talks more about how the problems that military spouses face, about trying to buy homes, etc. And she ends with this. We know that people are statistically more likely to be depressed when they are unemployed. The same is true in our spouse community, a community that ranges from 15 to 30% unemployment, that is typically more highly educated than their civilian counterparts. The rate of suicide found in DoD-sponsored study revealed that Army-dependent spouses and children are killing themselves at a rate about 100 per day. The average veteran suicide per day has been pegged at 22. If there is no other reason why employment of the military community should be important to you, please consider this at very least. This letter was riveting. This testimony was riveting. And frankly, it's the reason why the military liaison bills are before you. Both of us were members of that committee, and both of us heard that testimony. We need to do something for these military spouses. They are kind of a lost in our community. And I know that DVA has been doing listening sessions, trying to address these issues. They're here today to support this bill. I can only say that this is an issue that we need to address in the legislature and help these military spouses. So with that, I'll leave copies of this testimony here for you. I think I have a few extras, but I don't have many extras. But Candace Day was the author of this statement, a very riveting statement that really should prepare us to do something about this military spouse issue this session. So with that, any questions?
Thank you. My district touches JBLM too, and one thing I hear from military spouses most is the lack of compacts with other states on occupational compacts, so they can come here and cut hair or number of things that we have not agreed to yet, and I hope that we continue to expand that field. Take a very quick break to do two bills in executive action as staff hustles to find the paperwork. We have two bills that have fiscal impact, and I want to get them out of here so they can get to Ways and Means and hopefully be put on Ways and Means schedule. So we're going to do number 2, Senate Bill 6336, and number 4, Senate Bill 6626. The first one is dealing with parental leave. And Sam's jumping up and down over there.
You had held the public hearing open on 6626, just as a heads up.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah.
Just like that.
The sheets are coming. How many do we have left on 6626?
Oh, we have 6 people. Yeah, we can let them know. Didn't you say that we're going to come back to it?
No, I said we're going to do exec.
Tell them they can choose to speak or not speak.
Yeah.
We'll vote.
I told them.
Those of you who are here for 6626, thank you. We do want to vote on that. If you really want to testify, you're going to crimp our style, but if you have a burning desire to do that, I hate to put it that way, but we've got 10 minutes left, and we're going to exec it out.
So, as I stated earlier, my name's Jamie Lynn Bloom, and I'm a military spouse. I'm going to read my testimony in support of Senate Bill 6626 and the imperative need for a military spouse liaison. As you may or may not be aware, Washington has almost 45,000 active duty service members with almost 30,000 active duty spouses. Employment is often one of the largest barriers military spouses face. We hear, hire a veteran, it's the American thing to do. While I absolutely agree that hiring veterans is the right thing to do and should be a priority, I often feel like, well, what about me? I pack up my life and move with my husband when he gets orders every few years. If I'm lucky to have a job, I have to leave that too. I have holes in my resume where I couldn't get a job in one state because the places I applied blatantly asked me if I was a military spouse. The truth is, military spouses are some of the most resilient, loyal, and dedicated members of society. When our service members deploy, we tighten up our bootstraps and become the sole caretakers of our families. We often don't have the physical support from our immediate families because we're stationed hundreds to thousands of miles away from them. I'm from Central Florida. My parents and sister live over 3,000 miles away. My in-laws live 1,700 miles away in Minnesota. Military spouses want to be taken seriously, and we want real jobs. We are project managers, accountants, lawyers, doctors, nurses, social workers, teachers, and yes, Senator Hunt, there are a few hairdressers. We have certificates, undergrad degrees, and graduate degrees. Many of my friends who are not employed have 1 and sometimes 2 graduate degrees. Of my friends who do have a job, most are grossly underemployed. We want local companies and state agencies to know there is a large pool of fantastically qualified professional spouses willing to work hard and give our best. I'm fortunate in that as a military spouse, I recently found gainful employment within my career field. And my coworkers not only appreciate my hard work, but they applaud the sacrifices I have to make almost daily in order to be at work and take care of my children. Another equally large and related barrier facing military spouses is quality childcare. I stated Washington demographic numbers earlier, but I left one out. There are over 45,000 military kids in our state. Many spouses feel that our only option for quality childcare are the child development centers on base. These centers often have long wait lists and policies requiring both parents to work full-time or be enrolled in school. How can we find full-time work if we can't secure full-time care? When we go off base for quality childcare, the costs are much, much higher. I keep saying quality childcare because military families with children who undergo the added stress of deployments, TDY, and extended training schedules, it's important that we seek the best qualified caregivers for our children. As a mom of 2, it's important to me that while I'm at work, I have entrusted my children to those who understand the price they pay as military kids. It would be really nice to have a military spouse liaison to advocate for cost-efficient yet quality childcare. To wrap up, I hope I've made a clear case in support of Senate Bill 6626 and having a Washington State military spouse liaison. We are here living in your community and we need help. We have much to contribute and we yearn for belonging. Thank you.